Welcome back to Fantasy Football Today, presented by Snickers. Snickers satisfies. I'm Jamie, that's Dave, that's Heath. We have the wide receivers that you should be looking to add off the waiver wire, some guys to drop, and obviously the trade options as well. But first, let's show you the prominent wide receivers who are missing in week number 9 because they're on a bye. All 3 of the Bucs wide receivers are off. Hopefully Antonio Brown is back in week 10. The Lions guys, they're missing. Khalif Raymond was missing last week. No targets for him. That was a disappointment. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, they hope to have Russell Wilson back in week number 10. And Terry McLaurin also off. Hopefully Ryan Fitzpatrick is back for him for the Washington football team. Let's talk about the wide receivers you should be adding this week. And there's a long list and a couple of guys at the top that have some good opportunities, especially after what we saw in week number 8. So let's talk Devonte Parker first. Coming off a game where he had 16 PPR points. He has at least 16 PPR points each of his last 2 games and at least 7 targets in every game so far of the season. So, Dave, can it continue in a great matchup against the Texans?
We know that Will Fuller's not going to play. We know the Texans aren't very good against the pass, and we know that Devonte Parker is one of the top targets of Tua Tagovailoa. 18 targets in the 2 games combined that Parker and Tua Tagovailoa started and finished. I'm expecting it to continue on. I think this is right around where he can end up against Houston with a chance of him scoring. That's an amazing number 2 fantasy wide receiver.
Yeah, I've got him as a borderline number 2 in the projections, and I think he could be that for the rest of the season. A high-end number 3, low-end number 2.
Jameson Crowder's coming off another strong game as well. He's played now 4 games this season. 2 of them he's been really successful. The formula, though, last week was pretty well set up for him with Mike White and the way that he plays and no Corey Davis. So if Corey Davis stays out again Thursday night taking on the Colts, could we see another game where Jameson Crowder gets close to 10 targets and has another opportunity for north of 8 catches? So I think you guys are a little bit more pessimistic on Jameson Crowder, but is there any upside looking at what this matchup and opportunity could be?
As a 1-week fix in full PPR, he's definitely worth starting as a number 3 fantasy option. I'm not sure if the targets can still be in that 9 to 10 range against Indianapolis. Colts have been really good about not letting receivers in the short area get a lot of yards after the catch. So he really is going to need that volume in order to be good for fantasy purposes. And that's really the story with Crowder week in and week out. I wouldn't make him a priority off the waiver wire.
Yeah, I mean, you look at week 4, he had 9 targets as well, had 7 for 61. That might be closer to the catches and yards, but that's still a number 3 wide receiver. It's just whether he gets into the end zone. You can't really bet on the Jets doing that too much.
Well, Mike White, you never know. Scored 3 touchdowns last week. Show the list again of the wide receiver stat. I want to give the guys a chance to maybe pick their next favorite option aside from the top 2 that we're talking about. So, Dave, who's the next guy for you?
My next favorite guy is Rashad Bateman coming off the bye for the Ravens. I expect him to remain relevant in that Baltimore offense. We know that Lamar Jackson is throwing the ball very well this year, and I think he could be a long-term solution for fantasy managers.
My second favorite guy behind Devonte Parker would actually be Hunter Renfrow.
I'm surprised.
Roster. I know. I don't talk about him enough. I got him number 25 this week. I would guess he's going to see 8 or 9 targets, catch 6 or 7 passes, and probably score 13 fantasy points.
He's very, very steady. One thing just to point out, we have Darius Slay listed here. Check out if Kenny Golladay is available. 57% is his roster percentage, just in case he comes back. And Sterling Shepard's out. The last time we saw him was the game against New Orleans, went over 100 yards receiving. So hopefully Golladay can help fantasy managers as the season comes to a close.